CBS News Bay Area Afternoon Edition with Makovec.
Right now on the afternoon edition, the battle over President Trump's deployment of the National Guard back in front of a judge in San Francisco, just hours after a federal appeals court handed the Trump administration a victory. Thanks for joining us this Friday. That ruling from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals last night allows National Guard troops to stay under the control of President Trump, while California's legal challenge continues to play out. In a unanimous decision, a three-judge panel ruled President Trump lawfully used his authority to federalize control of the Guard. Trump has deployed some 4,000 National Guard troops and 700 active-duty Marines to L.A. following protests over immigration raids. Now, that same case was back in front of a federal judge in San Francisco this morning. Our Lauren Toms is live outside the courthouse with the latest on today's hearing and where things go from here. Hey, Lauren.
Yeah, hey, Ann. Well, this issue over the National Guard being deployed here in California remains locked in a legal saga. Now, I was inside the courtroom here at District Court for California's Northern District here in San Francisco as Justice Breyer asked attorneys for both President Trump and California Governor Gavin Newsom to issue him briefs and argue what kind of power these attorneys believe the district court judge has in this case. Now, this, of course, comes less than 24 hours after that Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, that three-judge panel unanimously ruled that the Guard can be deployed. But they did say in their ruling that it is not insulated from judicial review. So in part a victory for the Trump administration, but it still opens the door for this process to be reviewed legally. Now, that ruling was triggered by an earlier decision by this same Justice Breyer, who temporarily ordered a block to the deployment of the National Guard. That lasted only hours before the appeals court issued a stay in that, which then, of course, led to that hearing earlier this week. And fast forward another few days to that unanimous ruling last night. So where things stand at this point, Justice Breyer, again, here at the District Court for the California Northern District, will wait until Monday at noon when these attorneys for both the president and California Governor Gavin Newsom will issue their briefs and arguments as to what they believe the power Justice Breyer has in this case. And he is tasked with really narrowing the scope of his initial order that blocked the deployment of the National Guard troops. He now has to decide exactly where, how, when, and whether these troops can legally be deployed on the streets of California. So that briefing we will expect to receive Monday at noon, but at this point we are not expecting a ruling on Monday, but possibly later in the week. Ann?
So interesting. Okay, so just to be clear, the judge is asking the lawyers to tell him how much power he should have in this case, not how much power the National Guard should have.
That is correct, Ann, and I'm told by legal experts that this is actually not that unusual, that especially at the district court, because of the hierarchy of these federal courts, that the district court judge does tend to look back to some of these attorneys for their understanding and rationale as to how much power they expect this district court judge to implement in his ruling.
All right, very interesting. Lauren Toms live for us at the Federal Building in San Francisco. And of course, stay with CBS News Bay Area for continuing coverage, the ongoing legal battle over the deployment of federal troops in Los Angeles. We're going to have the latest updates on air and on our website, kpix.com.
Because the people are saying, you gotta go.
Immigration protests erupted at LA's Dodger Stadium. Demonstrators gathered after dozens of federal agents were seen outside the stadium yesterday. The team announced that it denied ICE agents permission to enter the parking lot. The Department of Homeland Security responded that it was actually Custom and Border Patrol and that it had nothing to do with the Dodgers. Meantime, fans are criticizing the team, saying the Dodgers are not doing enough to stand up for the immigrant community.
I think the feeling, somewhat betrayal that the Dodgers have not spoken up.
The Dodgers, 40% of their fan base is Latino. I am a Dodger fan, and this is, I do struggle with this.
Well, the Dodgers have put off an announcement they plan to make about plans for helping local immigrants in light of recent raids. All right, strong winds. We saw them there in Lauren's live shot, blowing her hair all over the place. Keeping the fire danger high right now as we head into the weekend in some parts of the Bay Area, still dealing with PG&E's power shutoffs because of it. Here is a look at the current outage map. That pink shows the power is shut off in parts of Contra Costa and Alameda counties. And while the shutoffs might be inconvenient for people, fire crews say they can really make a difference. The open space outside of Livermore is covered with dry grass that can burn quickly. And that could be a major challenge for Alameda County firefighters if a fire breaks out.
With wildfire, we really look at wind conditions to be able to push fire. We look at light flashy fuels that respond easily to wind. We have topography, we have hot days out here, so we kind of have all the elements that challenge us.
The county has already seen 2 fires this weekend that damaged homes and threatened others. Staff has been added through the weekend so they can respond quickly to any wildfires. Taking a live look from our Mount Diablo camera, we want to check in with meteorologist Jessica Birch with more on these winds and what we can expect. Did you see Lauren's live shot? That was kind of crazy, downtown San Francisco.
It really was. But let's take a quick look at what's going on for us here locally and here widespread throughout the Bay real fast, because as we head into the afternoon hours today, of course, the winds are the big story for us. Widespread from our inland spots where it's very dry still, and we were dealing with warmer temperatures just a few days ago, all the way to our coast where wind gusts are going to peak around 40 to 45 miles per hour today. Now, just 2 days ago, we were talking about almost triple-digit numbers over in areas like Antioch with 90s up into places like Santa Rosa. But now we're back into the 70s and 60s widespread throughout our inland areas, with 50s along the coast today. Let's dive straight into those winds, though, because there are some things that are changing for us right around the corner. As this area of low pressure continues to track its way to the south, the winds are getting stronger for us here locally. Now, the storm track stays to the north of us, but what we're getting is just the leftovers, which means stronger winds as we head into the evening hours tonight. About 35 to 40 mile per hour winds in areas like San Francisco, about 45 mile per hour wind gust all the way up into areas like Bodega Bay, Point Reyes, stretched down into Half Moon Bay. It's a similar trend. But I've been talking a lot about the coast. I mean, look at our inland spots, too. It's the same trend. We have strong winds into the evening hours tonight, dies down a bit tomorrow, and then we have strong winds once again tomorrow afternoon. I'll have more on that coming up.
Thanks, Jess. Heads up for transit riders. Muni's service cuts taking effect this weekend, starting tomorrow. SFMTA is cutting service along 5 bus lines to help address its $50 million budget shortfall. Muni is shortening the 5 Fulton, 9 San Bruno, and 31 Balboa. Those routes turn around now when they reach Market Street. And the 21 Hayes route, as well as the 6 Haight Parnassus, will combine to form a single line. The transit agency expects to save $7 million with those changes. Meantime, BART shutting down service this weekend between the Walnut Creek and Concord stations for track repairs. Free bus service will be provided between the Walnut Creek, Pleasant Hill, and Concord stops. BART says you should expect delays. Still ahead here at noon and streaming on CBS News Bay Area. A win for fuel producers. The latest on the Supreme Court's ruling on California's emission standards. Plus, President Trump setting a deadline over whether U.S. troops will get involved in the conflict between Israel and Iran when he is expected to make that decision. And let's take another live look outside before we head to break. Gorgeous shot of the Golden Gate Bridge. We'll be right back. New at noon, the Supreme Court says fuel producers can sue California over its emission standards. In a 7-2 ruling this morning, justices overturned a lower court decision to throw out a lawsuit by Valero Energy. The lower court said the lawsuit lacked legal standing to challenge a Biden-era waiver to let California set its own standards. In today's ruling, conservative Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote the majority opinion, saying the government shouldn't target an industry and then lock them out of court. The dissenting justices criticized the court for even taking on the case because the state's waiver expires in a few months. This comes after the Trump administration signed a congressional resolution banning California's plan to end the sale of gasoline-only cars by 2035. President Trump says he's going to decide in 2 weeks whether the U.S. will join Israel in its airstrikes against Iran's nuclear facilities. He says he is first giving diplomacy a chance. Meanwhile, talks began in Switzerland today between diplomats from Germany, France, the United Kingdom, and Iranian representatives. Natalie Brand has the latest.
In Geneva, Switzerland, Iran's foreign minister is meeting with his European counterparts, pushing to end the conflict through diplomacy. Iran delivering this message as talks begin.
Iran is defending itself against the barbaric aggression. We are entitled, tasked, and determined to defend our territorial integrity, national sovereignty, and security with all force.
Iran's foreign minister says while the U.S. has sent messages calling for negotiations, Tehran will not negotiate unless Israel's aggression stops.
We are operating in the name of regional stability and global security.
Israel says it's not backing down, even as President Trump is holding off for now, saying he'll decide what to do within 2 weeks.
If there's a chance for diplomacy, the president's always going to grab it, but he's not afraid to use strength as well.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff met with the UK's Foreign Secretary ahead of today's meeting in Geneva as the U.S. tries to re-engage in direct talks with Iran.
As the State Department makes plans to help with evacuations of Americans trying to leave Israel, private rescue groups in the state of Florida are also assisting.
Thank God that the Jewish Sabbath starts tonight because we really desperately need that rest and that sleep.
Josh Hammer arrived back into the U.S. early Friday morning. He said he decided to get out as strikes killed civilians in the week-long conflict.
Well, here in the U.S., the state of Florida is helping Americans stranded in Israel get back home. Just hours ago, Governor Ron DeSantis welcomed passengers of a state-chartered flight back to America. San Francisco leaders sounding the alarm over anti-Semitic violence. State Senator Scott Wiener and Mayor Daniel Lurie joined other local leaders calling for San Franciscans to stand on their values in the face of hate.
The bottom line is hate has no place in San Francisco. We are not going to stand for it. Let these acts be a reminder of our responsibility to foster understanding and remember our shared humanity.
Mayor Lurie also spoke out against recent attacks on San Francisco's Jewish community. He is supporting DA Brooke Jenkins bringing hate crime charges against a suspect in a violent attack in the Mission District, where the suspect shouted anti-Semitic slurs. The uptick in violence in the city and across the nation follows the murder of 2 Israeli consulate staffers in Washington, D.C. All right, taking another live look outside, back to our first alert weather coverage. It looks pretty calm there from this camera looking at the Transamerica Tower. But make no mistake, it is very windy around the Bay Area. Let's check back in with meteorologist Jessica Birch.
All right, let's dive straight into those winds, because as we head into this afternoon, they're only kicking up even more, to the point where I was even considering planning a park party, and it is way too breezy right now to head out to the parks, especially in the next couple hours. We have gusts up to around 35 to 40 miles per hour in areas like San Francisco and Bodega Bay, all the way off into our inland areas. We're gearing up for wind speeds, the gust at least, up to around 25 to 30 miles per hour into the evening hours tonight. Now, you mix that with dry conditions, low relative humidity, and what we had earlier this week, which was really hot temperatures. And of course, that allows for fire weather conditions. But what we're seeing right now and what we're keeping a close eye on mostly, especially as we head into the evening hours tomorrow night, is just another day of gusty winds, all widespread throughout the Bay Area, especially along our coastlines, but we'll notice it in our inland spots too, including the Santa Clara Valley, stretched all the way up into wine country. So let's head over to the Santa Clara Valley real fast, where it's a lot cooler for us this afternoon. We're talking about 60s today in San Jose, 70s all the way off into the East Bay near Antioch. It was just 2 days ago we were close to the triple digits over there. Now we're sitting in the 70s, and that's also the case all the way up into Santa Rosa too. Santa Rosa 2 days ago sitting at 92 degrees. Today we're in the 70s, so significantly cooler compared to where we're at for that midweek warm up. And here's where we're at as we head into the next 7 days. We're gonna hold on tight to 70s today, warm up a little bit more for the first couple days of summer as we head into this weekend's forecast. Mid 80s right around the corner for Sunday and Monday. We'll see some partly cloudy skies next week, but still dry conditions each day. Not a drop of rain in sight. Now you make your way over into the Bay. That live look behind me from San Francisco over into Oakland. For the most part, we're sitting in the 60s today. We'll warm up into the 70s tomorrow for the first full day of summer, holding on tight to 70s as we kick off early next week. And then we'll start to cool down a little bit into that midweek forecast. The winds are the big story for us, though, as we head into this weekend. Each afternoon, we can see gusts up to around 30 miles per hour in our inland spots, about 40 mile per hour wind gust in some of our coastal communities. So we'll keep you updated on those numbers here in the Weather Center. Stay safe. Be very careful out there. Back to you.
Thanks, Jess. Coming up, shredding and spreading pride. We're going to introduce you to a local woman making a powerful statement about what it means to be trans and visible.
No matter what's going on around you, no matter how hard
This Pride Month, we are highlighting a freewheeling spirit, spreading visibility and positivity for the transgender community. Kara St. Cyr shares the story of a skateboarder who's making a powerful public statement of pride.
I try to do this every day as possible, just to let the tourist people around us know that we're here.
On any given day, you might see Abby Smith skateboarding through the city.
Oh, I go all the way up to Castro and back down to Jefferson and skate around the Golden Gate.
Wielding a trans flag high above her head.
It's inspiring, it's encouraging to, other like-minded people.
She's covered 20 to 30 miles daily since February, making it her mission to show everyone this display of pride. While the statement she's making is overwhelmingly a positive one, it was born out of what she says is necessity.
A lot of the trans have to run in fear, and they're just mispronounced and just mistreated, not eligible for hire and stuff like that. And it's just really tough.
Overall hate crimes in California are down, but a study from the state Justice Department showed that crimes against LGBTQ members rose 86% from 2022 to 2023, a trend happening nationwide. The GLAAD Alert Desk reported 932 anti-LGBTQ crimes. In just the last year, trans people were found to be disproportionately affected. Abby's decided this isn't the time to shrink. People have taken notice.
Thank you.
I mean, I've definitely seen her. I saw her the other day. She is definitely very fierce and very powerful.
Honey Mahogany, a director of the San Francisco Trans Initiative, is among those inspired by Abby's message.
For me, it made me really happy seeing her with her big trans flag, riding her skateboard, and yeah, just spreading that joy. I mean, it was a joyful moment for me. I'm sure it was a joyful moment for many people when they see her walk by.
Abby's rides are confined to San Francisco for now.
Happy Pride. I want to be able to see this keep going for the community at least to have something.
Just to spread that positivity and maybe just a little bit of pride.
A work of art serves as a reminder of the ongoing AIDS epidemic. The SFO Museum celebrated its exhibition of the AIDS Memorial Quilt this morning.
The quilt was created as a weapon in the global struggle against a pandemic that has not ended. The virus is going to come roaring back with a vengeance. None of us are going to be safe from that reality.
The quilt's individual panels each represent a life that experienced it or is experiencing AIDS. Right now, it is on display at the SFO Museum of the International Departure Level. That is it for the afternoon edition. Remember, we are streaming 24/7 on the free CBS News app. Just go to Live and then choose Bay Area. And again, heads up on this high fire danger that we've been talking about all week. Today and tomorrow, those winds are going to be whipping, particularly in the East Bay. Thanks for joining us.